You're listening to Growing Hope Conversations, the podcast from Growing Hope, a charity offering free therapy for children and young people with additional needs and support for their families. Join our host Bambi French as she welcomes guests who've been there, sharing real stories, honest struggles, and how churches can truly make a difference.
Joe, welcome to the Growing Hope podcast. It's so good to see you. How are you today?
I'm really well. I'm excited. It's the start of an academic year, and I'm well rested after holiday, and we've just got a dog. So I'm very excited to be with you tonight.
Yeah, the start of the academic year. I know I was saying to you before we started recording, I was a teacher, and September, I always think, well, what have I got to get ready? And I don't have to do that anymore. So I'm quite happy about it. My husband is still a teacher and has to get all of that ready. I don't have to do that, so that's fun. But I'm sure people who are listening, lots of parents will be having mixed feelings about the start of the academic year. But hopefully our conversation today will help in some way to get people moving into the new year.
I'm excited too. I met with an MP today to talk about KIC and the work that we do. And he too was talking about the start of the year. Yeah. It's this funny thing. It's ironic, isn't it? Although you don't even have to be in education to kind of somehow feel that sort of summer is over, the new season's turning up. But it's really funny, isn't it, Bambi? It's hard to avoid being a part of that academic year process.
Absolutely. So before we get into our conversation today, do you want to just tell everyone listening who you are, what you're about, what you do? Just a bit about Joe.
Love to do that. Yeah. So my name is Joe. I'm married to Laura, 20 years this coming year. We have 3 sons, Theo 15, Seth who's 12 and Joshua who's 9. And we've just added a little dog to our family, a Yorkshire Terrier called Miles. Previously, I did a film and television degree and then ended up in education and became a principal of an outstanding school in Tower Hamlets. I was there for 9 years before coming across to KIC as CEO, and I've been CEO here for nearly 11 years, and it's been an exciting journey for us as we seek to transform young people's lives with God's love through sport and support.
You're busy. All those children and
and
then the work that you do as well. You don't left teaching to go and set up something else that is as challenging, if not more.
That's right. I've interestingly just become a church leader as well since May.
Yes.
So I'm co-leading a church with someone, and it's a thriller. I think it's good to be busy. I would hate to be bored, and my name means the Lord shall add. So often that's been a truism in my life that things have been added to, and I've got stuck into them. And I love the energy of busyness. I think it's fun. It can be a problem, but again, it can also be an excitement. I love meeting new people and getting things done and being ambitious for change. But it's one of those funny things, isn't it? It can be overwhelming as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Really, really great. Well, I think your work has always been around working with children and families.
Yeah.
Through school and then through the charity and the nonprofit that you run now. And the link, I guess, you wouldn't be on this podcast if you hadn't had those links and those experiences. So if we look at the mission of Growing Hope and what Growing Hope stands for is, one of the aims is around being able to grow hope for children, in particular hope for children with additional needs, but growing hope for children, those with additional needs and those with their siblings as well, the work, all the work that goes on around the families. Can you talk to us about what growing hope for children has looked like through your both in teaching and in the work that you do with KIC now?
Yeah. Well, that's a brilliant question, because in the school that I helped found, we had an inspirational CEO at the time, and his vision was to bring hope to Tower Hamlets. So isn't that funny? Very much aligned with that whole aspiration to bring hope or to grow hope was in that first part of my career, as we sought to do social projects with vulnerable, disadvantaged children in Tower Hamlets. I don't know if you're familiar with the term NEAT. those not in education, employment, or training. And that population at one point was 26% of children and young people in Tower Hamlets. And across a 9-year period, we saw that reduced to 4.9%. So it was really exciting. We had a real dynamic crew of people. The organization grew from 5 staff to 250 across that time period. And we sought to bring hope to disadvantaged children and young people through training, education, if you like, a second chance, having been expelled or dropped out or really in quite dead-end scenarios. And we would place them into apprenticeships in Canary Wharf and various different things like that. And I met up with a former colleague, and he said that he managed to get a young person whose family had experienced generational worklessness. He was the first person to get a job in 3 generations of his family. And they placed him into an estate agent's for work experience. And he bumped into this guy, and the guy said, "Can I take you out for dinner?" And he said, "Oh, what do you mean? I'll take you out for dinner. We'll go grab a bite to eat." He said, No, I want to take you out for dinner. And so he turned up to meet him in his Bentley and took this former colleague of mine out for a slap-up meal in Canary Wharf. And he'd become a millionaire in Canary Wharf, sort of 15 years on from selling property.
Yeah.
And so that really was a sea change in that person's life for his whole family, 3 generations of worklessness. And somehow he was a very talented person who made a lot of money in the East End of London. And so that was a hope brought perhaps to that young person. And we hope that there were many others that encountered that in that role at City Gateway. But beyond that, coming to Kick, as I mentioned, our whole mission is designed around transforming young people's lives. And I guess if I was to start in reflecting on that, I'd say that brought a lot of hope to me to come and join an organization that cared about the personal, social, and spiritual transformation of young people's lives. And so that inspired me to come and join. And when I did, I wanted to not only see that hope and transformation take place in those young people's lives in a variety of different ways that was physical, mental, and spiritual, but also that was lasting and was scalable. We wanted to bring that hope and through that transformation to many, not just a few. And so that was something that inspired us and inspired me to come work for Kick. And yeah, it's been a really exciting journey ever since.
That's awesome. There's so you can see one of the other aims of growing hope for families. You can see actually when you invest that time and energy into young people, the impact that can have for somebody to go into work and then break the chain of 3 generations of worklessness is incredible. Lots of our listeners will be parents of children with additional needs and with differing experiences. You'll know from your time within the school system and in education. Lots of parents with children with additional needs have different experiences depending on how well they can navigate the system, understand, the language, the things that are being said to them, complete the forms, all of those sorts of things, to manage all the professionals. But what I've found as well with I guess my own experience is that you can talk about making that change in the lives of children, countless children. You can say, look, this is how you give example after example. This has happened. We've taken this child from here and then they've made it to this point. But the common theme that can run, I'm not saying that it is definitely true for everybody, but that can run within parents with additional needs is that, well, it's all right for them because they haven't got the needs that my child has. So they don't necessarily have the difficulties that my child has. Can you speak to the support that and the work that you will have done with children with additional needs and how you've seen them progress and how you've seen their families progress as well?
Yes, in a variety of different ways, really. I guess in terms of what we do at Kick is we deliver sport, street dance, mentoring, and chaplaincy. And so that's the physical through the sport and the dance, up to 40 different sports or dance disciplines. The kind of mental approach through the solutions-focused mentoring, helping children and young people find solutions to the problems they encounter, and the schools-based chaplaincy, where we add that spiritual dynamic and pastoral approach there. We also partner with local churches to upskill volunteers to run extended sport or dance coaching in the community. And so that often engages families that wouldn't otherwise be able to afford to play sport at the weekend, but also welcomes those that might be tempted to go play sport instead of go to church. So I guess coming back to your question around those disadvantaged, I mean, in my experience, often people that really excel in sport can sometimes really hate academics. We're all created differently. And I met a school once. It was a 4-form entry primary school. So a big sort of factory school for primary. And they said, we don't now do any physical education, although they're supposed to. They said, what we do is we sort of try and embed it in the lunch times. And so they run around and then we can just focus on English and maths.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a tyranny for children, young people that hate academics and find that the hardest subject, not to have an outlet to celebrate their physicality through physical education. And one of the things that I've noticed at a lot of private schools, independent schools, that I didn't have the privilege to go to, but a number of my friends did, they play up to 4 times the volume of sport that a normal state school will play. And you think, oh, how do they achieve such good academic results? Well, it's because they release those endorphins, that pent-up energy in physical education to then be able to really focus, have that togetherness and trust in their academic studies. And so for many disadvantaged or for learners that have other challenges, sport is a very important subject to be able to access and engage more academic subjects that are very important later on in life. But also through our mentoring works with predominantly those learners that have additional needs or very challenging social circumstances at home. And our solutions-focused approach helps them reintegrate with education to really succeed. And so whether that's mediating between teacher and parent, or teacher and pupil, or helping them work through challenges in and outside of school, that often prepares them to engage. And then obviously chaplaincy is a fascinating subject. We had an incident in the first week we launched chaplaincy as a service where tragically a woman with psychological problems set herself on fire. She ran out of her estate and died outside the school gates of that school. It was an absolutely horrific scenario. Parents, teachers, pupils that witnessed that environment, it's absolutely horrible. But week 1, we knew why chaplaincy was crucial for that school, because our chaplain was a rock. He was there for those parents, teachers and pupils to guide them, to listen to them and to pray for them through the challenges they'd seen. So again, that was an unusual need in that particular moment, that they were able to walk with them in that moment of need. And that was very powerful.
Yeah.
One last one around additional needs. What we've found is that really excited to talk about inclusion and diversity through sport. So we deliver 2 sports I'm really proud we do. One is called korfball, and it is a bit of a hybrid between netball and basketball. It's very popular in Australia, founded in Holland, and essentially as a sport, you must have male and female players to each team. But the female players play against each other, and the male players play against each other within the game. And what's absolutely brilliant about it is they can go really hard against their particular gender. And actually, what's great is it really includes boys and girls in that way, that the boys really want the girls to succeed and the girls really want the boys to succeed as part of the team. So very helpful, inclusive sport. Also, Paralympic provision is an amazing service that we run, where we deliver some of those Paralympic sports that are unique to those with learning difficulty or disability. So things like new age curling and bocce, brilliant sports that actually a lot of the time are learners with learning difficulty or disability wipe the floor with their able-bodied counterparts. So there's a Paralympic sport called goalball, where everybody, it's for blind people, but if you wear a full mask, you can't see. Often the able-bodied learners really struggle to engage with the senses without sight, whereas those that have a blind difficulty actually are really attuned to hearing the bell in the ball as it rolls past them, and they can save it. And so again, goalball is a brilliant sport at really leveling things and reminding us all of how valuable sight is. And for those that don't have it, how we should respect them. And they can still be very successful through things like goalball. So what I love about my role and the work that we do at Kick is that we can work in that variety of different ways around the physical, mental, and spiritual.
Yeah. And, I mean, what I'm going to say might be controversial, but I would argue that what you're doing with Kick is like the core subjects. Never mind English and maths. Actually,
Yeah.
you need to be able to, physicality in whatever way that looks like, physical exercise for life is just so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
The solution focused work you do, which builds resilience, problem solving skills for your whole life, that, is important. And then for those of us with, Christian faith in general is so important, isn't it, for your life? So I'm like thinking, well, these are the core subjects. Do you know? My daughter always famously says, well, at the end of the day, she'll say, well, Mum, there's another day I've survived without Pythagoras.
Oh, gosh. I mean, honestly.
I'm probably offending maths teachers right now, but
I'm with you. Have you ever used the quadratic equation since GCSEs?
I don't even just about spell that. I don't even know.
Exactly. The internet uses them apparently, so they're very important.
Well,
but
yeah.
I mean, I don't need to know them. I'm pleased somebody else can.
Yeah.
And I'm delighted to never have to do one again.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing, that overemphasis on certain subjects, is at the expense of, we're all created individually, aren't we, and differently. And as a person with dyslexia myself, and a father to 2 of my 3 children have dyslexia, you can feel really stupid, and it's okay. It's just a different way of thinking and a different way of looking at things. I recently did a master's in change management for charities, which was fascinating and definitely the most enjoyable piece of academic study I've ever done, because I had some understanding of what leadership management was, and I could apply it to my job. Whereas often things like GCSEs, as you just said, maths, it's like, you're very unlikely to apply physics to your everyday as a 15-year-old. So it's those kind of subjects. But the way I would look at it is not to underplay those other academic subjects. But what I would say is the things that are missing in the academic world that we offer are very much the things that we're able to provide at Kick. And I would love in future, if I had a say in any of this, why doesn't everyone study business studies, professionalism, how to change a tire, these kind of subjects that you really need, how to file a tax return or something stupid like that you will have to work out as an adult later on,
Exactly.
that we actually are going to use, rather than, I'm never going to use a test tube and an experiment. I'm just not going to need that. A Bunsen burner is unlikely to be useful for me. But again, as I say, it's not to undermine those other subjects that are fun to experiment and explore. But as you say, valuing of resilience on role models, physicality, mental health, and crucially, as Christians, people talk a lot, don't they, about the physical and the mental, but the spiritual is a real dynamic. The soul is something completely glossed over, and it's real. Our soul is an eternal part of how we are designed, that actually stays far beyond our mental facility and our physical facility, which pass away. Our soul is eternal, and again, to try and pretend that doesn't exist is a real shame. So I'm with you. I as somebody who was involved in formal education, that model of teaching and learning in schools, I'm really pleased that we get to do informal education inside a formal education context through Kick, by the mentoring and just providing that one-to-one engagement through chaplaincy and the after-school clubs. I don't know if you know this, the most dangerous time for a child or young person is what time period in a week? You might think a Saturday night or a Friday night. It's actually 3 till 6, Monday to Friday. It's that journey home after school while maybe mum or dad are still working, that is when crime, risky behaviours, muggings, all of that side of things, sexual exploitation, that all takes place between 3 till 6. And so at KIC, we provide 242 after school clubs a week that provide a diversion activity to keep those young people out of harm's way before mum and dad are home, or there are more people on the journey home. And again, that's important for them, and often is a physical expression if they haven't enjoyed as much PE as they hoped for. It's all interesting, isn't it? But these are important things.
And you've talked. I'm sure you haven't told us everything there is to know about KIC, but what you have said to us, I mean, I'm thinking about and thinking, well, isn't this amazing? This provision that exists is amazing. But whoever's listening, they'll be thinking, well, can my child get involved with it? Whereabouts are you based, or where do the clubs run, and how can people get involved?
Well, look, when I joined KIC, we had 7 staff, and we were working with about 2,500 kids a week in 17 schools. Today, we have grown from 7 staff to 97. We've grown from 1 borough in London to 28, and it's been an absolute thriller as we've expanded. We went national post-pandemic, and we're now in 8 regions of the UK. So we're out of London to the West Midlands, East Midlands, and East of England, the Northwest and Northeast. And for the first time, we're going to the South and Southeast. As we're starting this journey to bring hope for the future and joy in the present to a generation of young people. And so it's been exciting to start that journey as we're expanding to the 15 regions of the UK across the next 15 years. But how can children, young people, or parents engage KIC in their communities? Well, look, as a former head teacher, I love meeting head teachers. If you know of any schools, please introduce us to your head teacher. I'd love to meet them. Secondly, we train up local churches through local volunteers to reach local children, young people, and in the KIC academies. And so those KIC academies are where we can give away resources to do some coaching in the evenings or the weekends with an embedded kind of sports ministry slot to introduce the gospel to kids. And so again, in the last 12 months, we've launched 15 new KIC academies across the country. So again, as a parent or as a child, if you want to engage in some sports ministry or dance ministry, please get in touch. We'd love to allocate you to a KIC academy, or if you'd like to set one up as a church, we'd be delighted to train you to run a KIC academy. And so, as I say, there's that work that we do in schools as well as the work we do with churches. And we'd love to see that expand as we seek to reach a generation of young people within a generation of time.
Oh, it's awesome. And the way you talk about it, you can just see how it can grow really, really quickly, really,
Yeah.
Children like to move. That's what I learned in my 18 years of teaching. Children like to move. They really do. It doesn't matter how they move, they just like to move.
It's exciting. It's exciting. And look, in every town, village, let alone city, there is a school and there is a church. And therefore, there is an opportunity for KIC to serve communities. And that's really gripped us. Smallest school has only 17 pupils in it, but they enjoyed it so much this year, they've doubled the number of days they'd like us to come in. And so again, we want to make a difference. And again, as you say, we want to grow.
It's awesome. So any of the links to like your website and things will be linked below this, kind of in the show notes. So
very easy.
Get hold of information that they need and contact
Thank
you.
you.
My mind's already whirring and thinking, these teachers I know, I need to introduce to.
I can't wait to meet them. There's no such thing as a stranger, just somebody I haven't met yet. I can't wait to meet them. That's exciting.
I know that this conversation, I think I say it a lot. So many, I have the best job. I get to interview all these people on this podcast. And I could talk for hours, but I won't, because
that's great.
End at some point. So to kind of wrap things up, I want to just focus in on something you said earlier around celebrating, children being encouraged to celebrate their bodies, celebrate the differences that they bring to anything that they're doing. there'll be people listening who are finding it hard to celebrate the difference, and I think without going too much into detail, at this point at which we're recording this podcast, difference is something that, is being seen in a lot of different ways at the moment, and there's a lot of debate around difference. How do you encourage children, parents, teachers, everyone involved to celebrate the difference that has been designed by God Himself, is a deliberate thing? How do we celebrate the difference that we see in each other?
Well, I guess a driving principle for us as staff at Kick, maybe let's just start there. Start with me and start with our people at Kick. We, an organization with a very strong Christian ethos, to follow Jesus' example in the way that He loved young people and was relevant in the way He communicated with them. And so we want to have Jesus at our heart. And then as a result of that, we want to have values that are true to us, which we are being transformed by Jesus in our heart more into. And those values we call ACE2, simply to be aspirational on behalf of young people, believing in their futures when they can't, compassionate towards them, being genuinely loving in the way we communicate with easy and challenging children and young people. The E is to be excellent in our service delivery. It's to really give them our best. The I is to be intentional in our relationships. So to really think through an individual plan for each young person we encounter. And the second I is to make our decisions with integrity. And so with Jesus at our heart and our ACE2 values at our core, we should therefore be delivering a service of transformation as our young people experience something different from us than they might otherwise do from a teacher or somebody just going into a school. It's just a job. And so again, we want to be changed ourselves. We want to be transformed ourselves in order to see others transformed. And so the difference that we're seeking to make is to be different ourselves in the way that we communicate to make transformation. But we also want children and young people to grow and to change and to see the world differently themselves in all kinds of positive ways. And as a Christian, I am acutely aware that I would never see heaven without adoption. And I am moved every time our staff team gets together, because we all come from different backgrounds across the world, let alone across the country now. But we are all adopted sons and daughters of God. And so it's something that I am always moved by, that we bring different skills, gifts, stories to the picture. But as a melting pot, we are family with the same dad. And so that point of difference is an amazing inspiration to me, that as we're being transformed by God with that recognition and identity that He is our Father, and then we can love and serve other children and young people. And if they'd like to choose to become a Christian and join in that wider family, that they get a chance to be transformed and made more into His likeness too. And so again, there's that free opportunity for each of us to find our identity in God, which is the kind of ultimate transformation that we would be delighted to see. And difference is something that can be quite oppositional and divisional. But actually, personally, if we see that opportunity to join a family with God at the head, then actually difference is an amazing quality. Diversity is a wonderful thing, because we can all have different roles to play and add different flavors to His body, if you like. And so again, it's something that we would want to celebrate in terms of difference. And as I say, out of a place of acceptance that we start this journey far away from God, and actually He's chosen somehow to give us the opportunity to be adopted by Him. And that is a similar quality that we can all be really grateful for as we celebrate difference.
Thank you. Yeah, there's not any more to say on that, really. I think you've nailed it there.
Oh, good. Oh, phew.
Really, yeah. Just I think there's a lot going on for a lot of people. They're dealing with a lot of challenges day to day.
Yeah.
But actually, just these words of kind of hope, like you say, hope for the future, but joy, find the joy in today, is really I think it's really encouraging and something that can help a lot of people. But thank you so much for your time today, and we'll link everything in the show notes so that everyone can kind of get a better idea of what KIC is and how to get involved if they so choose. But thank you. Thanks for your time. Thanks.